Okay, year 11, pause the video and play when you're ready to go through the answers. Okay, so for this one, everyone in the country will be able to say that the x square root of 16 is 4. That gives you 1 mark, but not everyone will remember it's positive or negative, which gets you your second mark, because obviously negative 4 multiplied by negative 4 is also plus 16. Now this one goes up by 2, then it goes up by 4, then it goes up by 6, 8, 10, and so on. So the second difference is the same. And if the second difference is the same, we call it a quadratic sequence. Now, in order to work out the nth term of a quadratic sequence, you want to look at the three terms on the left. So we've got 2a is equal to 2, 3a plus b is equal to 2, and a add b add c is equal to 10. So if 2a is 2, a is equal to 1. 3 lots of 1 is 3, so b must be negative 1. So therefore c must be 10. So the nth term is always an squared plus bn plus c. I've worked out what a, b, and c are. So I just have to replace them. So 1n squared minus 1n plus 10. This one, hopefully you remember to work this out. So it's going to be half times 6 times 8 times sine of the angle between them. Quite straightforward if you remember the formula. So you've just got to do half times 6 times 8 times sine 42 is equal to 16.1 centimeters squared, but you must tell the examiner that you've rounded it to one decimal place. And the cosine rule, a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos capital A. Okay, so well done if you managed to get that. Now, today's title is Changing the Subject, but we're doing slightly harder questions, so write that down as your title and then play when you're ready to go through the examples. Okay, now this lesson is split up into 3 parts. So I'm going to go through a couple of examples. You're going to then do some practice. I'll then go through another couple of examples. You do some practice, etc. So we're going to do 3 cycles of that. Now the problem here, when it says make x the subject, we've got x in both places. So what we need to do is we need to collect all of the x's onto one side. So I'm going to subtract cx from both sides. So I've got ax subtract cx plus ay is equal to by. So now I've got all of the x's on the same side, but I want to be able to factorize out x. But x doesn't appear in ay, so I'm going to subtract ay from both sides. So I've got ax subtract cx equals by subtract ay. Now x is in all of the terms on one of the sides. I can factorize it out. So I can just say, well, x appears in both. So inside the bracket is just going to be a minus c equals by take away ay. And now to get x on its own, I can just divide by the whole bracket. So x equals by take away ay, all divided by a minus c. Copy that down, pause the video, give the question on the right a go, and then play when you're ready to check. Okay, so we want x on the same side. So I'm going to do yx take away 3xz plus yz equals 3yz. I'm going to subtract the yz. So I've got yx take away 3xz equals 3yz. Subtract yz. I can now factorize out the x. So I've got x brackets y minus 3z equals 3yz. Subtract yz. And then I can just divide by my whole bracket. So I've got x is equal to 3yz, subtract yz, divided by all of this, y subtract 3z. Copy that down. You've now got lots of questions to practice. Check your answers afterwards, and then I'll go on to some different examples. Okay, I should say that sometimes the answers here are going to be slightly different depending on the way that you did it. So don't worry so much if you've got them in a different order. do make sure you've uploaded it onto Google Classroom so that I can check the work that you're doing. Okay, so for this one, make x the subject. Now the problem here is that we've got it as a fraction. So the first step is to multiply both sides by your denominator. We've got y multiplied by x minus a is equal to x plus a. Now what we need to do is expand this bracket out. So we've got xy minus ay equals x plus a. And then from this stage, it's exactly the same process. So if we've got xy subtract x, take away ay is equal to a. I can then say, well, xy take away x is equal to a add ay. I can factorize out my x. Careful here. So x times y is xy. All I need here is -1 equals a add ay. And then I can just divide by the whole bracket. So a plus ay divided by y subtract 1. So the additional step here, if you've got a fraction, you just want to multiply by both sides by the denominator and then expand the bracket. Copy that down, give the question on the right a go, play when you're ready to check. Okay, so if we expand, if we multiply both sides by the bracket, not by the bracket, by the denominator. So we've got y brackets x minus bc equals x plus bc. If you expand that out, you get yx minus bcy equals x plus bc. Subtract the x, so yx take away x, and I'm going to add this at the same time. So yx subtract x equals bc plus bcy. This factorizes to become y subtract 1. So then you can say, well, x equals bc plus bcy, all divided by y subtract 1. Now, and I mentioned it briefly in the answers last time. Don't worry so much. If you're happy with every step that you're doing, if your answers are slightly different, make sure you upload it to Google Classroom and I will double check. But the answers are sometimes slightly different depending on exactly how you did the question. So here are some questions. Make sure you check your answers as best you can afterwards. Okay, remember, don't worry so much if they're not exactly the same for these types of questions. Upload it to Google Classroom and I will double check. Okay, GCSE question for you to do. Pause the video, play when you're ready to check. Okay, so we've got, if I'm going to write this out, so we've got m is equal to the square root of k cubed plus 1 divided by 4. Now the last thing that happened was the square root, so I'm going to square both sides. So I've got m squared equals k cubed plus 1 over 4. I'm going to multiply both sides by 4, so I've got 4m squared equals k cubed plus 1. I'm then going to subtract 1 from both sides. I'm then going to cube root both sides. So I've got the cube root of all of it is equal to k. Okay, exit tickets to finish. Okay, so if we're going to make x the subject here, so we've got a third of x equals 2y take away 2h. Multiply both sides by 3. Hopefully one of these should be x equals 6y take away 6h. Okay, so v is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. So if we multiply both sides by 3, we get 3v equals 4 pi r cubed. We then divide both sides by 4 pi, so we've got 3v over 4 pi equals r cubed. We then want to cube root both sides. So there should be a cube root of 3v over 4 pi, which I believe is C. Okay, now this formula you should recognize is actually the formula for a trapezium. So we've got half of the parallel sides added together multiplied by the perpendicular height. So to make b the subject, well, if we times both sides by 2, we get 2a equals a plus b times by the height. If we divide both sides by the height, so 2a divided by h equals a plus b, and then I can subtract a. So 2a over h subtract a is equal to b. So 2a over h subtract. Okay, well done, and I look forward to teaching you again next week.